Here's the question. Your deploy just went out and half your users cannot reach the application. What's the first thing you're gonna do? I want you to actually answer this in your head before I keep on going. Out loud if nobody's around. Because I've sat in mock interviews and watched engineers making $150,000 a year answer that question by listing services. You do not want to do this. For example, Route 53, load balancer, security groups, and they're all correct. I've also watched engineers making $400,000 a year answer the same question in one sentence. The gap between those two answers is not knowledge. They both know the same services, they studied the same material. One of them probably has more certifications than the other. The gap is the reason one of them is still sending applications and the other one is sitting on 3 offer letters deciding which one to take. So in this video, I'm going to give you the actual $400,000 answer word for word, and I'm going to give you the 4-line framework so you never freeze on an incident question again. And at the end, I'm going to show you how to answer this with real authority, even if you've never been on a call for an outage in your life. Let's start with what happens in the first 3 seconds after you hear the question. Read it one more time. Your deployment just went out. Half your users cannot reach the app. What is the first thing you do? Now watch what I'm doing right now. Nothing. I'm just sitting here. That silence is the most expensive part on the entire interview, and almost nobody uses it. When I run a mock interview with my students, I'm not scoring the first thing you say. I'm scoring what happens in the 2 seconds before it. Because a person who has actually owned production goes quiet for a second. They're picturing the system. They're asking themselves what changed. Then they speak. A person who's only studied for an exam does the opposite. The silence feels like failure to them, so they feel it. And the fastest thing you reach for when you're panicking is a list of things you know. So out comes the list. Route 53, application load balancer, target groups, security groups, maybe CloudWatch. Here's the problem. Nobody asked you what you know. They asked you what you can do. Those are 2 completely different questions, and most engineers never notice they answered the wrong one. So rule 1, before any frameworks, before any technical anything, when you get an incident question, take a beat. Say, okay, let me think about that for a second. Out loud if you need to. That single sentence makes you sound more senior than the next 45 minutes of technical answers. You are not being tested on recall anymore. You are being tested on whether you are calm when money is on fire. Let me explain why this one question does more filtering than an entire technical screen. A certification exam asks you to recall a service. It gives you 4 options and one of them is right. It's a closed system with the correct answer sitting in the room with you. This question does something completely different. It hands you an ambiguous situation with real consequences and asks whether you can be trusted with it. There's no single right answer. There's only an order of operations that shows whether you've ever been responsible for something that broke. Those are 2 different products, and only one of them is priced at $300,000 a year. And I learned this the expensive way. I spent $3,000 on certifications and I studied for months. And not one of them have ever asked me this question, not once. Every single certification I paid for tested whether I could recognize the correct answer. None of them tested whether I can make a decision while people were watching and the site was down. So I walked into interviews with a wall of badges and I still answered like a student because that is what I've been trained to be. Passing a test does not equal an offer letter. I say that constantly and people think it's a slogan, but it's not. It's a description of 2 different skill sets that happen to look the same on a resume. The engineer earning $300,000 to $500,000 a year are not being paid for what they know. They are being paid for what they are trusted to decide. That is the whole business model of a senior cloud engineer, which brings us to 2 answers. I'm going to play both of these for you. It's going to be the same question, the same knowledge, but completely different operator. Here's the $150,000 answer, and I don't want to mock anybody. This is generally a competent engineer talking. Okay, so if I check Route 53 to make sure DNS is resolving, then I would look at the load balancer, check the target group health, see if the instances are passing health checks, and I would check security groups in case something changed there. Then I would probably look at CloudWatch logs and see if there's any error. Everything in that answer is technically correct. If this was an exam, that's a passing score. Now, here's the $400,000 answer. The first thing I'm going to do is roll back the deploy and then I'll find out why. That's the whole first sentence. and then they keep on going. I roll back first because the fastest fix for a bad deploy is the version that was working 10 minutes ago. While the rollback is going, I confirm the blast radius. Is it all users or one region? Is it one service or the whole application? Then I drop a message in the incident channel so support and the business knows what's happening before customers starts calling them. And only when users are back up, I actually go find the actual root cause, because at that point, I can take time and do it properly. Look at what's on the left and what's missing. There's no order on the left. Every item is equally weighted, so the interviewer cannot tell what you would do first under pressure. There's no ownership on the left. It's all checked and looked at. Checking is not a decision. Nobody gets paid $300,000 to check things. And here's the one that ends interviews. On the left, there is no user. Half the customer base is down for the entire length of that answer, and they never came up once. Every second spent diagnosing before restoring is a second the business is losing money. And the left column does not seem to know that. The right column restores services first, communicates second, investigates third, same services, same knowledge, completely different person to hand a production account to. I remember the exact moment this landed for me. I was on a mock call with somebody who was already earning good money, strong engineer, and I asked him a version of this. He gave me the left column, textbook, and I caught myself thinking, this guy knows more AWS than half the people I've worked with, and I wouldn't put him on the call. That is when I understood what interviews are actually measuring, and it's not what I had been studying for. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you about something, because this is the part that separates a helpful video from an actual change in your income. You can rewatch this section 10 times, memorize the right columns, and deliver it perfectly, and it would still not move your salary if nobody is putting you in the room to say it. That's gonna be the real problem for almost everybody watching this. It's not a skill. You're already earning $150,000 a year, maybe even $200,000. And the problem is that the market does not know you exist. So you spend majority of your time applying instead of choosing. That is the entire thing that we fix here at the 1% University. We take engineers who are already technically strong, and we rebuild how they are positioned, how they show up to recruiters, and how they answer exactly these kinds of questions so that offers starts coming to them instead of the other way around. If that's where you're stuck, the link is in the description below. Go ahead and apply, and we'll see if it's a good fit. Now, let me tell you the framework so you never have to memorize an answer ever again. Here's the thing about the $400,000 answer. It's not a script if you memorize it. You'll get one question right and then freeze on the next one. What you actually want is the structure underneath it, and it's just 4 lines. 1, what would I do first? 2, why would I do it in that order? 3, what would I tell the room while I was doing it? 4, what would I fix so it doesn't happen again? That is the whole thing. Narrate the decision, not the service. And watch how it transfers. Different question. Your monthly AWS bill just jumped 40% and nobody knows why. Go. What would I do first? Pull the Cost Explorer breakdown by service and by tag for the last 60 days. Find which line item moved. Why in that order? Because a 40% jump is almost always one thing, not everything. And I want the one thing before I start theorizing. What would I tell the room? I would tell finance that the number is real and I have it isolated to a service, and give them a date for the fix so they stop guessing. What would I fix so it does not happen again? Budget alerts with a threshold and required tagging on anything that can scale so the next spike shows up in the channel instead of an invoice. Same 4 lines, but completely different problem. And notice I did not need to be smarter. I just needed a structure that forced me to sound like an owner instead of a student. Run every incident question through those 4 lines and you will never freeze again. Not because you know more, but because you always know what shape your answers take. You're not a candidate answering trivia anymore. You're an engineer walking someone through a decision, and that is the shift. Now, the honest objection some of you are thinking is, that's great, but I've never been on a call for a real outage. I would be making it up pretty much. And that's fair. So let's fix it, because you don't need an outage, you need the reps. Here's how I do it. And this is the job description mining method. Pull up 20 job postings for the roles you actually want, not roles you feel qualified for, roles you want. And you are not reading them for requirements, you are reading them for systems. So look at this one. It says Terraform, EKS, a managed database, CI/CD through GitHub Actions. Somewhere in there, it says something about production support or on-call rotation. That is the tell. Those 4 to 5 nouns are the entire syllabus. That is what the interview will be about, because that is what they run on Monday mornings. So take 3 of them and build one thing. Not a tutorial project, but a small system that resembles theirs. Terraform it, put it behind an application load balancer, deploy it with a pipeline. And then here's the part almost nobody does. Break it on purpose. Push a deploy that fails a health check and watch what your users see. Change the security group rule and see how long it takes you to notice. Kill a node. Even let the pipeline deploy something bad. Then practice rolling it back and timing yourself. Now go back to the question at the top of this video. You're not making anything up anymore. You have watched half your traffic disappear because of a health check you broke yourself. And you know exactly what you did first to bring it back. That is a real answer. You built the outage instead of waiting for a company to give you one. Documentation gets you in the room, projects gets you the job. And breaking your own projects is what makes you sound like you've been there before, because you have. Last thing, and this is the part nobody wants to hear. Everything I just gave you is worthless if you are never in the room. You can have the frameworks, the projects, the intentional failures that you've done yourself, all of it. If your application is sitting on a stack of 900 people, you're not going to be noticed. And I need you to sit with that, because it's the reason why most people stay in that $130,000, $150,000 a year while collecting certifications like it's Pokemon cards. So let's use Isaac for an example. Before Isaac joined my program, he sent over 10,000 applications, 0 offers. He talked about it in a testimonial video. You can actually check out that video in the description down below. And he was a former Amazon engineer, so this wasn't really a skill problem. This was a strong engineer who could not get anyone to pick up the phone. Nothing about his technical ability changed after that. What changed was how he positioned himself in the market and how he handled the room once he got in. He collected over $970,000 in offer letters in 10 months, and recruiters were coming to him. And those conversations turned into offer letters. It's the same engineer, but he positioned himself differently in the market. Cloud engineering is a cheat code to financial freedom, but only if you treat it like the business that it is. It's marketing and sales applied to a high-income leveraged skill. And nobody's gonna hand you a room to be brilliant in until you're positioned to get invited into. So let's bring it back, and there's 3 things. 1, when you get an incident question, take a beat. Then answer it like a decision and not a list. Restore first, communicate second, and diagnose third. Number 2, run every answer through those 4 lines that I talked about before. What would I do? Why in that order? What would I tell the room? And what would I fix so it never happened again? That structure works on every operational question that they can throw at you. And number 3, if you've never lived it, go ahead and do some digging, mine 20 job postings, build one system that looks like theirs, and then break it yourself. You don't need permission to get the reps. And if you're already technically strong, earning 6 figures, and the actual problem is that nobody's putting you in these rooms, that is exactly what we do here at the 1% University. Click the first link in the description below, go ahead and apply, and we'll see if we're a good fit. And if you liked the video, make sure to like it and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.